All right, here we are with the latest edition of Dads and Ed, episode 39. Pleased, as always, to be here. Your humble host, Josh Allen. I am a tech integration specialist in Council Bluffs, Iowa. One beautiful wife, three beautiful kids, one who we are currently prepping for the third birthday next week. We got a little Minnie Mouse theme going on, so excited for that. And it doubles as a Halloween costume. That is good parenting, friends. Very excited to be here, joined as always by Claire Schoening. Claire?
Look here.
Look here.
There you go.
I'm down here, Claire.
I'm a dad. Well, this is obvious. You're a K-12 instructional technology coach, correct?
Yep.
Yes! I have a sister, an annoying, a really, really, really annoying bird. Two dogs who are in the background behind us somewhere, and my mom.
And your mom. All right, there you go. It's getting better. Right?
And to some people, I am being called the fourth member of Dads and Ed.
Yep.
But to some people,
I think Josh did call you the fourth member of Dads and Ed last
on
week.
the last time.
It was
All right, cool.
something
Yeah,
like that.
I work in the Council Bluffs Community School District in Council Bluffs, Iowa. That was Claire, who has become a part of the show, and she likes to tell everyone she has a dad, which is good. She has a dad. My lovely wife.
It's always good to know that.
It always is good to know that.
Phantom.
And it's me.
Double bonus.
So my beautiful Erin is out on a walk with Gracie, our older daughter, tonight. Gorgeous night. So this is my one time of I am on the porch tonight. So doing the old outside thing for my once or twice a year. So no bugs, ready to roll outside.
Perfect time. Normally this time we would kick it over to the third member of the show, Brent Catlett. But if you don't follow us on Twitter or Brent, number one, you should. Number two, you would have known that his 40th birthday was last week. And during the 40th birthday party, he informed us that his wife surprised him with a trip to Vegas. So we got kicked to the curb for Vegas. However, sometimes it's subtraction. No, sometimes it's addition by subtraction. Sometimes it's also better if you get the whole analogy right the first time. So because our guest is an expert podcaster anyway, we decided to bring him on early, and we like him. So, Rob, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Rob Lindquist. I am also at Council Bluffs Community Schools. I am the journalism teacher for Thomas Jefferson High School. So I do broadcasting, yearbook, newspaper, all that fun stuff. I have a beautiful wife of 8 years now. We have two little girls, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And my 5-year-old just had her last soccer game of the season tonight. She only managed to kick the wrong way once. So that was good.
Progress.
So we're moving up in the world. And as an expert podcaster, I still don't know how to do the titles at the bottom, so I'll get that figured out by the end of the show.
Ooh, so you're saying you're going to get
Challenge.
it?
I'm gonna try anyway.
I heard I will get it figured out by the end of
maybe. It says it's on. That's all I got to say. But I do other things as well. I started the Run Iowa podcast, which we'll talk about. I'm a district technology, group member. So I do a couple of different things with the school. I usually have a lot to talk about, so you're probably going to have to shut me up.
Okay, we can do that.
All right,
if you would like to connect with the show, as always, please tweet at us at Dads and Ed. Use the hashtag Dads and Ed. If you think this is great, feel free to share it with others. The audio version is dadsanded.podbean.com, or you can subscribe in iTunes. Big friend of the show, Bill Little, who works with Brent, reminded me that, and we're going to have to find it. Devin, I don't know if you can find the picture of Brent.
Yeah.
So Brent apparently hired well down in Independence because someone figured out, and Bill, let us know who it was. I think it was Sage, but I'm not for sure. Someone photoshopped Brent's head onto a picture of a guy wearing a, what do they call it? Like the wrestling outfit? I don't know what they're called. Wrestling singlet that had a picture of a cat on it. And they put it all over his office. There were 40 cups of water all around his office. So they did it upright. They did a great job. Congrats to his staff for getting all of that uh, around his office.
And I am retweeting that picture to the Dads and Ed hashtag right now.
Nice. So even if you're listening to this, go to the Dads and Ed hashtag, scroll back to tonight, whatever tonight is, October 19th, and you can see that fantastic picture in all of its glory. Someone on Facebook commented that that picture cannot be unseen, which I thought was a great way to put it. At one time, I had a picture of Brent in a mullet, and Bill, I wish I would have known. I would have given you the mullet picture that you could have put with the cat in the singlet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of specialty right there. So
That would have been awesome. Yeah, to mix those things together.
Oh. I don't know what your definition of awesome is, but I don't know if that's up there. It could be, I guess. I don't know.
all right, and Bill tweeted it. That is just fantastic. Wow. And Sage is the one who Sage Arnett, I think it's Arnott, was the creator of that. So that is fantastic use of skills.
Yes, it is.
All right. So last week, it is a rare occasion that we actually get to hang out together. And last week was one of those times that actually Rob got to hang out with Devin and I, which is quite the privilege if you think about it.
For me, was I lucky.
That's God. How much do we owe him for saying that?
Right. I'm getting paid.
You have an interesting definition of lucky.
Right, that's true.
Heavy on the sarcasm with lucky.
Well, I do consider myself one of the luckiest people I know. So if I get to hang out with you guys, that's got to be up there.
Yeah. I do have to say though. So Josh has mentioned that we were all at ITech, the Iowa Technology Conference, together this past week. What I do want to mention though is that Josh got into town and didn't even tell me. Like, I didn't even know he was there. I had to hear it third hand from 4 different people that, hey, you know what? Josh is here. He's at Fong's Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was. Yep.
And I had not heard from Josh or Lynn or Nathan or anybody else that they came with, or Christina. So I was...
Heather was with us, by the way. Heather Callahan.
Still am questioning our friendship, to be honest.
Well, in my defense, I was hungry, as were the other 5 people. And according to the event, Bright, for the event that you were at, it was appetizers, not Fong's Pizza.
And that's very true.
So for those of you that have never been to Des Moines, Fong's Pizza is like your crazy pizza. I don't even know really how to explain it. We ordered one that had crab rangoon on it. We ordered the Iowan, which is pork, barbecue, corn. It was fantastic. The loaded baked potato. I mean, it was amazing. So
there are about 3 spots in Des Moines you have to eat at. Fong's is absolutely one of them. Zombie Burger's another if you haven't been there.
That was my Monday night.
Oh, nice.
Are you going with the barbecue place third?
So I thought about that, and I'm not huge on barbecue. There's a little hole in the wall restaurant. Well, Farmhouse Cafe is pretty good, or not Farmhouse Cafe. What's it called?
It's a Machine Shed.
Machine Shed. Thank you. Sorry, Farmhouse is here in town.
Yeah.
But that's another must if you have to go to Des Moines. Well, I mean, some people choose to go. But I like Des Moines. It's I'd end up there someday, I'm sure. So.
Machine Shed was actually on our list for Sunday night. We chose Fong's instead since it was next to the hotel. But overall thoughts on iTech, gentlemen. This is only the second year I've been. First time I stayed for both days. I enjoyed it. I thought that Eric Schenniger was there on Tuesday. I missed the Monday keynote. The Tuesday keynote I thought was really good. Did a great job of validating some of the social media stuff that we do in our district, as far as being able to tell our story and share what's going on. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, and Josh, we haven't even really talked about this yet, but that was my first year being on the iTech board, so being kind of on the other side of the conference, not there just as an attendee, but actually helping put on the conference. So it was an interesting experience in that way for me. Not attending things, but really trying to trying to do some of the work that happens in the background of the conference that nobody kind of knows about. And so it was a different experience for me. It was cool to kind of see it from that perspective, though. It was interesting to kind of think through the sessions in a different way, and to think through the keynote in a different way, and to think through the logistics of kind of all of that coming together in a different way. So, I would say that I thought the 2 days, and really the 3 days, the workshop day on Sunday, were really good. We had some great things going on, but I would just say that it was a lot different looking at it from the perspective of putting the conference on versus just attending.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so it was my first time at the conference, and it was just one of those conference experiences that, what was I going to get out of it right away? I didn't know. I went to Monday only, and I saw the keynote on Monday, and fantastic. I love the way that he was able to connect not just the educational and the technology stuff, but his personal life into the story, and that always helps, because really a good keynote tells a story. And he was able to do that. I want to mention, I don't know if Devin, you have this plan to mention or not, but the breakout EDU session, I did that. It was kind of on the spot. There were only limited spaces, and I think they ended up with 8 or 9 or 8 different sessions that they ended up doing. And I thought that was, you're locked in a room and you have to work together and build teamwork. And not the whole time, but a lot of the time that I was actually doing that session, I was thinking, boy, I could do this with every single one of my classes. I could do it multiple times with different, goals in mind, or ways to get out, scenarios to get out of. And so it was really a neat experience. I met a lot of really cool people. And then on top of that, I ran for the board this year with not even attending yet. But I thought I've heard only great things about it. And so I did run for the board, and I didn't make it, and I'm not hurt by it, but I thought it was a great overall experience.
Well, I voted for you, Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we
you
had,
only
I
had
think,
one vote.
3 votes, because I voted for myself
I
twice.
voted for you, Rob.
4 votes. There we go. All right.
So there you go. I even tried to go in and rig the numbers, but apparently
nice.
You were so far behind that that didn't even work.
Well, I had one benefit, I think, is, and it's only a benefit to me. I was on the second to last, so sometimes people pick the first, and they don't always want to pick the second and third, so they go to the bottom. And I thought, well, maybe I can catch those people on the second to last. So.
You mentioned the Monday keynote. Monday keynote was Ramsey Musalam. Is that how you pronounce his name? So I just wanted to throw that out. And the Breakout EDU, if you haven't seen it, is a really cool, basically box. And like Rob said, you need to answer clues to be able to finish. You have 45 minutes to complete it. And I heard a ton of great things about that. So
yeah, those sessions were, again, we limited those down to like 10 or 15 people a session, and you had to have a ticket to kind of do that. Just sign up. It was free and everything, but I heard lots of great things about those sessions, and really it's a lot of fun. I did my first one the night before, or the Sunday. Sunday we did it as a board, and we did not make it out of the room. But I did call it. It almost feels like. I love reading like the Da Vinci Code books, the Dan Brown books. It's a little bit like that. You're trying to break codes and solve puzzles and make connections. And I certainly think that if you haven't done one, I'm gonna try and do a few in our district at some point too, and just pull some people in and do that. I know that Michael Matera talked about doing that with his students, and how much his students loved completing those, even having. Kind of doing it with another classroom is what he talked about, which I thought was kind of an interesting idea, where they had clues in different rooms, so they had to figure out which clues in their room were meant for them, and which ones were just kind of red herrings. They were meant for the other group, and they had to work with that other classroom to kind of figure out the clues together. So I think there are some cool things that you can do with that. I did love the Breakout EDU ones as well.
I was going to bring up, you mentioned Mike Matera being their former guest on Dads and Ed. At Fong's Pizza, I had seen that he had been there before us, so I tweeted him to see what I should order, and I didn't get rid of him for the next 48 hours. He hung out with us the rest of the time, and I say that in jest because he was giving us a hard time about, are you guys going to show up in Milwaukee when I land Like, are you gonna be like that kind of creepy? And we're like, no, 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 it's good. But had an awesome time being able to hang out with him over those couple days. He was a featured speaker for iTech and did, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 sessions, something like that. So, which I got to sit on those. So
between the two of you, what was the best session you went to? What was the one session you look back and you think, oh, I took this away from that, and I thought it was a great session?
Actually, one I didn't plan on going to. I did, my schedule through the iTech app and all that, and I looked at it wrong, and so I went up into the balcony area later in the afternoon, and Aaron Olson, it was the wrong time, so I looked at the wrong spot, and I just decided, hey, I saw somebody from earlier. His name is John Rogers, and I'll talk about him in a minute or so, but he was doing one on blogging, and he's a journalism teacher from Iowa City. And I thought, you know what, I'll just kind of sit in on it and just see what it is. And for some reason, it was probably my favorite session. I did a Sphero session, I did the breakout session, but the information that I gathered from him on how to bring blogging into every classroom, not just a journalism classroom. And so I took away, saying that it was the best one that I got is just meaning that I took something away and I'm absolutely going to go use it in my classroom. And so I've already started doing it with some of my newspaper kids. And it's 5 easy tips for getting started. I'm sure he has it on his Twitter, and so I'll get that shared out here on the hashtag in a second. But I think that was the session really for me. The other ones were fun, but this one was, okay, I'm really getting something out of this where I can use it every day.
And I would say I tried to do a good job of like challenging myself, because I think so often I see, like, Tuesday morning I went to one on social media and I didn't learn a thing, and I really thought I was going to get new ideas, and it was very entry level, and so I try and do a better job of going to stuff I'm not sure about. So I went to one of Michael Matera's. He talks about game-based learning, which he did on the show, and I learned a ton from that, and then I'm starting to get more into like the augmented and virtual reality, and Jason Marshall from Grantwood AEA out in Cedar Rapids did one. Augmented reality is the idea of scanning something and then something pops up. So like for our 2nd through 5th graders, there's this thing called Dot Day that it's based off of Peter Reynolds' book The Dot. There's an app called Quiver that you could color in your own dot, and when you scanned it with their app, the dot comes up as like a sphere, as an actual ball, and the kids are just like blown away by it. And so Jason Marshall did a great job of showing me and the other attendees, obviously, just some new apps to go along with it. There's one that's a human body, and I can't think of what it's called now off the top of my head, but basically you color in this human body, you scan it, and you can see like basically a body laying there, and it shows like the muscles and the veins, and it's crazy. It's fantastic. So I went to a ton of great ones on Monday, and for the most part totally struck out on Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon was a little bit better, but Monday was much more worthwhile for me.
I will say that. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, not getting to go to a lot of sessions. I didn't really present this year either. Just kind of busy throughout. But I did do an Ignite talk on Tuesday afternoon, kind of the last session on Tuesday. And for people who know me, this isn't a surprise, but I didn't plan this thing until like the night before. And I remember I tweeted out before this was going to start, this is either going to be amazingly good or fantastically bad. And it ended up going really well. I thought it was fun. I did 20 slides of Seinfeld quotes and pictures, and kind of wrapped around some talk about what I think needs to change with education. But I thought it was a lot of fun. And it's one of those things that I think would be good for just about anybody to do, especially if you really try and stick true to the Ignite model, which is 20 slides, 15 seconds a slide. You get this whole thing done in 5 minutes, and it's really fast-paced. There were some folks in the session who didn't maybe exactly know what an Ignite talk was, and they were just kind of doing a 10 or 15-minute presentation. And so I tried to do a really fast-paced one.
Infomercial.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it was an infomercial.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
It was not good.
So I could see that being a thing in a classroom too. Let alone having people present at conferences, or teachers do this where they kind of put on this quick, fast-paced, kind of think on your feet sometimes kind of presentation. There might be some value in doing that in classrooms too, and getting kids thinking. So I really did enjoy my Ignite talk, even though I think it needs some work.
Normally at this time I would throw Devin under the bus, but I do have to say it was great. It was hilarious. It was right on. I did Periscope it, although I don't know. I don't think Periscope keeps it for more than, was it 24 hours or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's gone into the lore of iTech.
Yeah,
But
and it was not recorded anywhere else. I really should have found a way to download that, but I really did think it could have been fantastically bad also. So the fact that Josh was periscoping it to even start was maybe a little nerve-wracking. Anyways.
Well, everybody likes to watch the deer, get hit by a car. So I mean, they like to see the carnage, but
yeah, that's true. Fortunately, it was not.
I really thought it could be, because I literally wrote it that morning. Well, I got done writing it at like 1:15, and the presentation was at 2.
And it was written in pencil on the back of a scratch piece of paper.
It was, yep, in pencil on the back of 2 sheets of paper. I really do. I think I want to do it again, though. I think I want to do it somewhere again. And hone it a little bit, because I actually ended up thinking, you know what, that was pretty good. So, yeah. So thanks for Josh for periscoping it, because then at least I got to look at it, and Aaron got to watch it, and other people got to laugh at me, so it was fun.
All right, moving on to the dad moment of the week. My dad moment, so I'll talk a little bit about this later, but we are going to the Nebraska football game this weekend, and so tonight, my son has been asking for 2 years now to go to a Nebraska game. He went to one 2 years ago, didn't get to go last year, was supposed to go earlier this year and got sick. So his grandpa is hooking him up with tickets on Saturday, and so he was pretty stoked. So we had to go to the store, and get some new gear. So he is rocking a new Huskers hat. He is pretty stoked about that. I had to get something a little bit nicer, which again I'll tease that for later. But so pretty excited around here, and the fact that the Huskers actually won this weekend, and there's a glimmer of hope that they could actually win 2 in a row for the first time this season, just amps up the excitement a little bit more. So,
what's 2 in a row? I've never heard of that. I'm an Iowa State football fan. What? I haven't seen 2 in a row.
You have.
Okay. It's been a while.
Well, no. I mean, it happens every year. You actually technically lose 2 in a row.
But it's the other way. I got it.
Yeah. So there sometimes people win 2 games in a row, which that one hasn't happened at Iowa State.
That's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, but maybe we can talk about it with the Cubs later.
Hey. Oh wait. Oh.
Devin.
Mine is we have conferences this week. So Gracie is in middle school, and so we'll have conferences for her tomorrow night, and Claire's conference is on Thursday. And really what I've been, my dad moment, and I mentioned a few weeks ago, maybe 2 shows ago maybe, that I kind of stuck my foot in my mouth on Twitter with some stuff with what was happening in classroom. And so now I'm trying to figure out how do I ask some questions at conferences and do it constructively and really look for some answers, but not be a jerk about it. And I know, Josh, you talked about this last time maybe with conferences that you were at, and your wife telling you to, just kind of drop it sometimes. And Erin, she may have even tweeted it. She said, "Yeah, boy, that was smart." She said Josh and Scott must have smart wives, because Scott McLeod was on last week, and he talked about his wife telling him to kind of let it be sometimes. So it's a tricky thing. We talked about this last time, but it's a tricky thing working in the district where your kids go to school, and trying to want and expect things for your kids and not alienate and make people mad. So I've been trying to think about how I can ask some questions at conferences this week and not be that jerk dad.
That's a fine line.
I know. But I feel like I need to ask some questions. I feel like I need to try and see where people are at. And I don't know. One, I don't know how to do it. And two, I'm not sure it'll let me do it. So we'll see.
My trick is going to be I'm also working in the district where my daughter is, and I get the advantage, I guess, of telling my wife to ask all the questions, and so I just kind of get to sit back on that. But yeah, that'd be a tough one.
And Rob, isn't your wife in public relations too?
She is, and she's
so she'll
really
frame
good.
it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. So she'll make us all look good. It'll be great. So.
I also have to give a shout out to Devin's wife Erin for tweeting the picture of him on said porch doing Dads and Ed. So check out the hashtag Dads and Ed for that picture. Rob, what's that?
I said she's something.
She has to be. Rob, go ahead.
I was thinking about this, and today my 5-year-old daughter, Faith, she's in kindergarten. She is the lunch helper for the week, and the lunch helper every day of the week gets to pick somebody else in their class to help them do whatever the tasks are. And I just heard this on the drive home today, and usually my daughter doesn't really open up about the day, but today she did, and she was telling me, she said, I picked so-and-so. And I said, great, good for you, why did you pick that person? And she said, it was because this person always wants to be picked but never gets to, and so I thought I should pick him. And I said, what a great deal. So I thought, that's right here hit me. It's like, oh, she's starting to choose the right things, I think. And then tonight at soccer, somebody cut her off, and she said, what are you doing? And kind of pushed her back. But we're getting there. It's the little steps. But she's starting to get big picture stuff, and I think that's really cool. And I'd like to take claim for it, but I think it was probably my wife a little bit more than me. So it was a pretty neat deal.
The key that we've learned to raising kids is to marry up.
Right, exactly.
Without a doubt.
So good for you.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, normally at this time we'd be welcoming Rob in, but Rob was kind enough to join us. Yeah, it's great to have you. As Rob mentioned, he's a journalism teacher at Thomas Jefferson. And host of the Run Iowa podcast. And that's kind of where I'd like to start right there. So you host the Run Iowa podcast. Tell us a little bit about that, and what was the inspiration for to start that up?
Sure, absolutely. Well, with the journalism background, I needed to express myself. No, actually what happened was I needed one big thing that my co-host Dave Kading and I talk about a lot is motivation and accountability. And last year I did that by starting a run streak, and really it was to get myself running every day. My wife kind of started me in running. Again, there she is again. She keeps popping up. Weird thing. But she kind of started me in running, and I wanted that accountability, so I started a daily run streak. And it worked until early June of the previous year, and I kind of twisted my knee. So I found myself not running for about 6 months, and it wasn't because of the injury, it's because I had no reason to at the point. So what ended up happening was at the beginning of the new year, I thought I need to do something else. We were on vacation from school, and I had all of the equipment here because generally over long breaks I don't like to leave thousands of dollars of equipment at school. I usually bring it home and just keep it in my basement. And that's honest to truth. Devin's like, yeah, you're stealing it. But no, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just do a little podcast. We're going to talk about something I don't know. I have a lot of hobbies, too many hobbies, and I decided I'm going to do a podcast. And so my first episode, I called it episode 0. It was me rambling about running, and I thought, well, I could probably do this, once every week or something. I don't know. It was an unrealistic goal, but I thought I could do it. I'm not an expert, or I wasn't an expert, I don't think. But what ended up happening was my first guest was Dave Kading. Find him on Twitter at David Kading. And he's a science teacher in our building. And I had him on. We just kind of talked. We did a lot of BSing. And then, as a former journalist, I knew there had to be some structure to this. And so we decided to break up a couple segments. We talked. And then the next week I said, Dave, that actually worked really well. Do you want to do it again? He said, sure. We are 41 weeks into it. This is our 41st week. We missed 1 week 2 weeks ago because of just unforeseen events events, and we just we roll with it every week. It's a cool thing. I don't think I'm an expert yet, but the people we talk to, we have some fantastic speakers like you guys do on Dads and Ed, not me included. By the way, putting me up after Scott, what is that about? Holy cow, talk about big shoes. But we've had NCAA national champions, we've had Olympic runners, there was a guy featured in Runner's World. He's running across the U.S., 93 years old now. He's running across the United States to raise awareness for a battleship to have it recovered and brought back to the United States, which it's now back in the United States, but now it's getting refurbished because of his awareness efforts, and he just crossed into Louisiana last week. And so he's still got a long trek to go. But we get really lucky. We talk to some great people, and then it just kind of goes from there. And we're lucky enough to have people listen to us. And we joke on the show we have 7 listeners, and we're also lucky enough to just be 2 guys that had some equipment and started talking. So any journalist will tell you half of the battle is just getting your stuff out there. And so now we have a couple people that listen once in a while, and we appreciate it, and it's a pretty cool deal.
Well, 7 listeners is 3 more than we have, so you're doing
Thanks
well.
for rubbing it in,
Thank you. I'm sorry about that, yeah.
Typically don't come on someone else's show and brag up how yours has 3 more listeners than the other, but
I just want to throw this out there, Devin. I did try to have you on the show twice now, and this last week it was more of an ambush again. But we'll get you on there one of these times. I said we had good talkers, and we'll get you on there too.
Yeah, well, so the question you mentioned, you're not really an expert in running, or you weren't an expert in running. What have you found kind of by doing this? I'm assuming that you've learned a lot about running through the process, though, right?
Absolutely. I think that's my biggest takeaway. I mentioned at the very beginning of this is my reflection on my own running has changed tremendously. Now I know why my body feels certain ways, or now I know better ways to help train my body for different scenarios. 2 weeks ago I ran up a mountain. I've never seen a mountain that close before. And so it was kind of a neat deal just talking to people and allowing them. One of the segments on the show is a tip of the week. It seems pretty mundane, but when you go through 40 different tips of the week, you kind of get a sense for things that work. And, we talk a lot in education about best practices, what really works in running. And so just having that knowledge is really powerful in itself. And I like to bank it a little bit on, I'm not an expert. I'm not an elite runner. We have those guys come on and talk because they're so fascinating. But I'm just, the average guy that his wife said you should probably start running, hint, hint. And so I kind of did and took it from there, and I enjoy it. I'm not super fast. But I think that's going to be my next goal is now that I'm done with long runs for a little while, my next personal goal is to start doing 5Ks. They actually do cross country now for adults. And so I'm going to talk to some of our friends in doing that, and I think it would be kind of cool.
You're not including.
Say that again.
You're not including. You said you're getting some friends together to do.
I think so. I am. So they have these. They're just kind of popping up around the United States right now, where adults do cross country meets, just like our kids do, our high school kids and things. And I would love to get a group of guys to go out there. We'll have funky little singlets and I don't know. It'll be maybe not,
with
but
cats on them.
Cats. There you go. That would be great.
But
Devin
was pointing out you hadn't asked him yet.
Oh, I think so, Devin. You're more than welcome to come on in on that. So.
And then of course
I was just gonna say that.
The porch Wi-Fi is going down.
Well, Josh, you're more than welcome too, because I know a couple of years ago I caught you at Check Up the Tower.
Oh my God! Don't even remind me of that thing.
It was so strange because I had no idea who you were, and
then we walked right by each other.
We walked right by each other twice, and it was no, I knew who you were. I just hadn't met you yet.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
I do need to run more, and I am one of your 7 listeners. I do subscribe, in iTunes, and I will say I do appreciate the like it is nice to hear from normal people. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you guys are very good about this is what my time is, and I'm like, oh, well, my time's not that much slower. Like if I would actually get out and run on a regular basis, like I could actually keep up with them.
Right, it's one of those things, and it's all about being accountable. Whether it's some guy on a podcast that says, "Hey, get out there this week," or you have a Hal Higdon training plan, or whatever it might be, just get out there and run for whatever reason you need to. That's completely up to you. I saw, and I've said it before on my podcast. A 10-minute mile is just as far as a 6-minute mile. So it's really just about getting out there, feeling better about yourself. Whatever that motivation is, and realize it's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it all the time. The first time I really went out and tried to push myself, I puked for like 20 minutes afterwards, and I thought, I'm never running again, until about 3 days later, I thought, you know what, man, that's not that bad. So
have to do a quick shout out to Nathan Kleinmeyer. We were talking about conferences, and Nathan said that posted to the Dads and Ed hashtag that he asked the teacher, since his daughter was ahead of standards, are they doing to support her? And he said it sounded good in my head, but sounded horrible as soon as it came out of my mouth. So yes, he probably should have married a good PR person who would have thought that through with him prior to sitting down.
there is a disadvantage to this, but I'll let you guys figure out what that whole. I'm always wrong. It doesn't matter. So, but I'll take it.
Switching over to the. Go ahead, Devin.
Am I echoing again?
You're not echoing. You're just kind of delayed.
All right. I need Bill Little's out there trashing me again for my Wi-Fi. I'm telling you, he has us confused. How often have we given Josh the crap for the tech glitches, and now Bill is always all over me about my Wi-Fi and my echoing. I'm gonna have to find. I've never met Bill. I'm gonna have to go down to Kansas City and meet Bill so he can see that I'm not so bad.
Well, see, here's the thing: is that Bill joined the show after I fixed my issues.
Right.
After I got a computer that was newer than my kids and Wi-Fi that didn't take just a hamster to run. So. I like Bill. Bill is one of my favorite contributors to the hashtag. So, Bill, keep up the great work.
I like Bill, too. I'm just saying. Now it's always my fault. I don't like it being my fault. I liked it when it was your fault.
I'm happy to pass that torch. Rob, one of the things that we've seen a lot in society is that with the evolution of the internet, journalism, as we know it, the newspapers, picking up the paper, getting it on your porch, has really changed, and internet has really changed how we read. How have you seen that change in your classroom from when you were in high school? I'm assuming doing the same thing in journalism, yearbook, all of that stuff.
No, I wasn't one of those guys. Oddly enough, in high school, I did drama for a little while and got lucky. But as far as what it is now, though, it's one of those things that everybody knows that, and I say knows, that newspapers are going to be gone in 10 years. I'm the opposite. I don't feel that way. I don't feel they'll be gone, but I do think they're going to be completely different than what we see now. And so really what I'm trying to teach is not how to write in a newspaper. It's how do I write for people to read it, in whatever format that ends up being. So we do a lot of short form journalism for the high schoolers. It's not very long pieces a lot of the time, because then we might add multimedia to it. So my newspaper people not only need to know how to write an article, but they also need to know how to shoot some video on their phones and that kind of thing. And really with some of the guests I've had talk to my kids, they're saying the same thing. To be a journalist, you're doing everything now. You are editing, you are taking video, you are writing everything for yourself, and then you're standing in front of a camera or you're getting it sent off to print, so whatever it might be. Technology's wonderful. I know you, Josh, you use Flipboard all the time. I've used Flipboard before with my kids, and how people gather their information is really what's going to determine how media is transformed in our future. You guys know that. That's not anything new. But if I have a kid that, is a phenomenal news anchor, that's not going to do a whole lot for them in the future. They have to be somebody that's willing to be diverse and willing to change with whatever's coming. And if a kid can't do that, then I'm not succeeding in what I do. And so as far as journalism goes, I think that's kind of, with a lot of our students in general, I think is, we're trying to teach kids 21st century skills and all this kind of stuff. Man, I'm throwing out a lot of buzzwords. I apologize. But
Bingo.
yeah, there you go. It's one of those things with journalism. It's hard to stray away from. I'm really lucky. Our district has afforded me a lot of fun toys in my department, and I've saved up money to do that through my budgets and whatever. But my kids have an opportunity to use a lot of this equipment that even people out in the real world right now aren't using. And I think that's going to help them transfer skills in the future to whatever they do, whether it's journalism or not. I think I've been teaching journalism now. This is my 5th year teaching journalism. I've only had 2 kids actually go on into journalism and do something with it. But I've had, probably 50 kids that have gone on and done something and said, hey, that time in English or that time in journalism and newspaper when you said, don't do this, do that, that really helped me figure this out in engineering. And I'm like, I don't know math or whatever it was. So, but that's I think, to answer your question, that's I think where it's going to head is just having all of the skills and being able to use what you need to. Well, I think that answered your question.
Yeah, and I wondered, Rob, you know that I have a special affinity for journalism.
Right, I took your job, so yeah.
Taught it. Yeah, having taught it and handed it over to somebody better. I do think there's something great about that class in particular and those kinds of classes. And maybe you already touched on this a little bit, but what do you think? What do you think a class like that offers kids that they don't necessarily get, say, in English class or in math class?
The first thing I tell my kids that are in my upper level things after intro is this isn't a class. It's a job. And you have to think about it that way, because as soon as you think it's a class, then you're going to maybe push that deadline a little bit, or you're going to not do everything you can when the opportunity comes to you. And I think that a journalism class, and not any elective class really, gives that opportunity to kids to be able to work in a real world environment. Gosh, another buzzword, I'm sorry. In one of those environments where I can say, don't ask me for the answer. I love it when my kids fail. And that's evil, but it's true. I love it when they fail because the first thing they want to do, especially at the beginning of the year, we're 5-6 weeks in right now, they want to come to me and say, what did I do wrong? And I don't know, what'd you do wrong? And if they can't figure it out by themselves, they have to go figure it out with their peers and things like that. And it's so communication skills, really, that I think is different about our class. And I think a lot of the core classes should and are starting to get there, but it's a little more difficult maybe in a math class to do that than in my class, where really I don't even, to my kids, I don't call myself a teacher. I say, listen, I'm an advisor. It's truly, that's what I'm helping you do. I'm helping you get to this point, and I'm letting you fail, and I'm letting you learn, but I'm not going to give you the answer. And boy, does that piss some of the kids off. But it really, in the long run, I think it helps develop those skills for those outside of high school, because in essence, we're 4 years of their lives. We don't matter. We're there to help them get to that next step, whatever that might be.
Well, and just to wrap up that point quickly, I was at we had an event here in Council Bluffs last week where we announced this big Wi-Fi project in the city, and Rob had 3 kids that came down to cover the event, broadcasting kids. And I was so impressed, and a lot of people there were with these kids and how professional they were, and the way they got set up and the way they asked questions, and what I heard from one of them kind of at the end was this idea that boy, it really stinks that Channel 6 is going to have theirs up tonight at 5 o'clock and we're not going to have ours out for a week or whatever that is. And I was talking to another teacher that I said that's the problem. Like, these kids, they should be able to go back to school right now, and if they want to take the next 2 hours, 3 hours, and edit that video and edit the sound, like, they should be able to. Like, that means a heck of a lot more to them than getting down to science class or making sure they get to PE. And I know that's probably not politically correct. I mean, it's not the right thing. We wouldn't want our kids doing that. But man, those kids, they wanted to get back there and work on that. They wanted to get back there and have that out, and they were upset that Channel 6 was going to have it out by 5 o'clock, and they were going to have to wait.
And Devin, you probably know this as much as anybody, but I write a lot of passes for kids going late to class. And I usually send out an email at the beginning of the year to apologize early, because that ends up happening. Especially those kids, like you said, they're the ones that want to be there all the time. They want to stay an extra class period to work on something. And sometimes I have to kick them out, but sometimes I'm sorry, but I have to write that pass and say, that's my bad. And I usually send some cookies that way. So.
Right.
Changing subjects a little bit more. For those of you watching online, you notice that there is a Cubs jersey hanging behind Rob's head. And
this is framing. This is journalism framing 101. So.
Okay, good. If I tilted my laptop a little bit more, you'd probably see toys and crayons behind me. But so our resident Royal fan is not here tonight in Brent Catlett. The winning streak, Rob, I believe you were watching last week when we pointed out that the Royals started winning when Brent moved to Kansas City. So notice he's not here tonight, and who's losing?
Right.
The Royals. Just saying.
Yep.
Apparently what happens in Vegas, his Royal mojo is staying in Vegas and not making its way to Toronto. What are your thoughts? Obviously, the Cubs now are in a little bit of a hole, down 0-2. Yeah. Thoughts on the opening of the postseason? Devin and I could go on forever about how our team's not in the postseason, although Devin's is a tad bit more better off than mine is at this point. But,
Josh, who do you have? Just so I have some reference here.
I am a very big Indians fan.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but it's all right.
Okay, real quick, though.
Yeah.
The guy on Twitter who correctly predicted 2 years ago that Cubs-Mets would be the NLCS this year,
yeah,
predicts Indians-Pirates in the World Series next year.
Easily doable. Francona's still there, right?
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere this offseason, so
nope.
They'll be all right next year. And they have a lot of good young bats, I think, coming in. So
I digress.
No, that's right. The Cubs jersey, just real quick, Ryan Sandberg signed it. He's my favorite ball player of all time. I met him when he was managing the iCubs, and I worked back and forth doing other stuff. So that's one of my prized possessions. I love it. The thing to remember for the series for the Cubs right now is it's a 7-game series. And so the next 3 are in Wrigley. So we have that going. Not we, I don't play for them, but the Cubs have that going for them. It's
put it on your bio that you did. That's the whole reason we had you here.
I know. It's so Rookie of the Year, Henry Rowengartner. Here I come. But as a Cub fan, we had our couple good years with Sammy Sosa and those guys, and then the Bartman fiasco, and now it's kind of, I think it's a completely different feel because these kids are so young that are doing well right now, and a lot of them are in long-term contracts. So it brings a lot of hope, and I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to say if they were to lose to the Mets, it's still been a great year for the Cubs, and that's an awesome thing that I hope people remember. And I know Back to the Future too. I'm all about that. I think that's going to be awesome when we do beat the Mets. But it's one of those things where we get these guys for a few years. This core group of kids in the infield, especially Castro's leading them wonderfully. Moving Schwarber to the outfield was a great move. So things are working well, I think. I'm not worried yet. If they go down 3-0, then I'm worried. But 2-0, I think that's good. The Cubs have been really streaky here at the end of the season. They went on that huge run with Arrieta, July and August, or August, September, and then they were 11-1 coming into the postseason, and now they're just, they hit a bump, but it's New York. The food wasn't very good, so.
I heard the pizza rat delivered their meal.
Right, the pizza burrito, or the rat burrito as well, or burrito rat, whatever.
I heard someone last week on the radio, and I don't remember who the reporter was, but he talked about he really was confident the Cubs were going to win the World Series, and that I thought was the jinx, because when you mentioned how young the guys are, and they're phenomenal talents. And I'm
Yeah.
not a huge Cubs fan, but I completely respect the talent they have. I have the utmost respect for Theo Epstein, the GM, and Joe Madden, the manager. But I was very worried that once everyone started saying, "Oh, look how great you are." I mean, when you play the cards, I mean, you don't have, the Cubs don't have to get up to play the cards. Like
Right.
that's the rivalry. But then you win that, and then everyone's, "Oh, look how great you are." I was not shocked that they're down 2-0. Now, if anybody can bring them back, I would have faith in Joe Madden because the guy is just amazing.
Well, his philosophy has always been, I've only been following him this year, but I've been following him kind of closely now, not stalkerish at all. But he's
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, exactly.
For future reference.
He's very much one of those, have to play this game type of guys, and he tries to keep everybody relaxed, which has been great for the young kids hearing everything, like you said. I think, just based on what I know from Iowa. But it's really neat to see how they're coming together in the losses. They're still fighting. I don't think they've given up at all in the two games, and they're putting on runs towards the end of the innings, which is always good to see. So, and like I said, it's a 7-game series. You never know. You get 2 in a row, and all of a sudden you're just right back where you were at the Cards after 3 games. So.
Yeah.
One last thing, I guess, before we get into our wrap up. You've listened, watched the show. At least you claim to have for a while.
I faked it.
One thing that we generally kind of talk to people about is this whole intersection of parenting and being an educator. And you have a daughter who entered kindergarten this year. And so, how has being a teacher and being around kids and now having your own kid go in that, how has it impacted you as an educator, and how has it impacted you maybe as the other way, being a teacher impacted you as a parent?
Well, I'll start with being a parent in the classroom has changed me more than I ever thought it would, because I've noticed that the first thing I do is I tell tons of stories about my kids, and like, hey guys, my 5-year-old doesn't do that, or whatever it might be. But it's like I bring that life experience into the classroom, and I think that makes me more relatable to some of the kids, because maybe they have little brothers or sisters or something along those lines, and now I'm just not a teacher. I'm like, hey, he's still a dad, that kind of a thing. The other part, bringing the teaching home, I think it's great for me because I'm able to help see, I read about what the teacher's doing here or there with whatever they're learning this time, or, the group work and the stations and all of that kind of stuff. And I know that she's using best practices right now, and it's neat to see, because I know you're smiling, as a dad, I would not have known that had I not become a teacher. And it wasn't my first job. Being a teacher wasn't my first career choice. It was being a journalist. And I didn't like the hours or the pay, so I became a teacher. Go figure. But I think it's been really great for seeing my 5-year-old go through that, and my 2-year-old in daycare even. I can just kind of see where the teachers are going with them, and it helps me understand. I can relax. Okay, I know that she's going to get it. She's got her letters. We read to her so many times. She, all that stuff, and so it makes you proud.
Nice. Well done. You passed your first interview.
Wait, one more buzzword. I gradually released most of that information to you guys. So okay.
Good.
All right.
Shout out to Nathan Kleinmeyer for mentioning you're using much rigor with your buzzwords. So.
It's I had this plan, right? I had a big, nice plan to just talk off the cuff and not bring in buzzwords as much as possible. All of that kind of stuff. I even had a TED Talk pulled up that I might mention. Actually, I'll mention it later. But I had this big plan, and then all of a sudden you start talking, and I'm looking. Basically, if you're not watching with us, if you're listening, I'm just looking at Josh and Devin's face the whole time, and it's hard to not start thinking of other stuff. And so I have buzzwords just popped in my head, and I got to get it going. So.
Yeah, we do that to people.
Yeah, which one of us, which I would be interested to know which buzzwords come up when you look at one of us. Like when Devin's face pops up, like
right.
Which buzzword
Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna leave that one alone. That TED talk, no.
Oh, that's good though. Yeah, I want to know what buzzword is attached to me.
Right.
I'll be looking forward to the next episode of Run Iowa.
Yeah, because we're really good about throwing people under the bus. So, speaking of,
We
Devin,
know.
how was your run tonight? Yeah.
I did run tonight. It was not fun.
Oh, it doesn't have to be fun.
It doesn't have to be, but it's a lot better when it is.
Right.
Well, and I've said this a lot of times, you should never take weeks off between runs. Then that next one always is terrible. So, it was fine. A little over 2 miles, somewhere around 9.5 minutes a mile.
We're at that peak time for a lot of those elite runners right now. This is their season, like their marathon season or half marathon season, where they all try to make money. So if you're getting into races, go check out the front of the line, and you'll see those best runners, because if there's a winner's pot involved, they're going to be at these races this time of the year. So.
I mean,
I tend to be in the middle, so that by the time I make it to the starting line, they're actually finishing.
Right. Do we have a second? Can I tell you my favorite Lincoln half marathon story?
Man, we got all the time in the world.
It'll just take a second, I promise.
We're not going to make our hour. Well, we don't even have like a maximum, but we shoot for an hour.
Okay.
We will be over that, so go right ahead.
It's 20 seconds, I promise. Okay. It's not 20 seconds. That's a lie. So I was running my Lincoln half marathon, and as I was finishing, I'm coming up the gate. This is the first year, I believe, that they ran the finish of the race inside of the stadium. I'm running down the side, and there's a huge video screen. And I look up, and I see myself, and right at that moment, everybody starts cheering. And I'm like, no way, that's for me. But it had to have been, because I was the only one on the screen. So I start waving, right? I'm just waving. This is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it was wonderful. And then I cut inside, and right as I cut inside, the marathon winner pulled up beside me and took off and beat me by like 15 seconds. And I'm like, okay, obviously it wasn't me they were cheering for. But I can say I was only beat by the finisher by 15 seconds. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in second place for the marathon. I just ran half the distance.
That may be the only way I would be in the top 10.
Oh.
All right, moving on to the app or site of the week. Normally that would be Brent's spot. So we've turned that over to Rob and let him take a swing at it.
Sure. The app I'm going to use is something that I'm sure some people have heard about. It's Dub Smash. You can check it out on Jimmy Fallon just as recently as last week. He did Dub Smash with Selena Gomez. We're actually using it in the classroom, though, as a way for kids to get involved in a contest to win a yearbook in my class. And so in order to win a yearbook, all you have to do is tweet hashtag CBTJ Dub Smash, and then hashtag TJ Pride, another handle that we use. And whatever dub you want to do, it's up to you. The only rule, obviously, it has to be school appropriate. And I have a panel of about 5 teachers, and we're going to judge these, and the winner is going to get a yearbook. And so Dub Smash, if you don't know what it is, I guess I should probably tell you. You can take a clip of soundbite, whether it's music or people talking or whatever it is. You can use preloaded ones or things right off your iPhone. I'm not 100% sure if you can do the same on Android, but I would assume you can. And then you just kind of you act it out. I know there's been some TV shows that are doing Dub Smash battles, all of that kind of stuff. And so I figured this is what the kids are doing, and they are. And some of these are hilarious beyond belief. So check it out with your kids, your students, and have fun with it. Let the kids have fun with it. Don't put regulations other than the whole make it school appropriate thing.
Devin, you have the Twitter follow of the week.
Twitter follow. So I'm going to share tonight. My Twitter follow is an Iowan guy named Dave Mulder, and I'll tweet out his Twitter handle. But Dave is just one of those people. We were just kind of chatting last night on Iowa Ed Chat that we've never actually met. He kind of even said something like, "When are we going to make this happen? Like, when are we going to actually meet somewhere?" So he is one of those people that I think that I'm always looking for people who, when they, whether it's tweeting something or in person, kind of make you think, make you question things a little bit. I think Dave does that. So Dave Mulder, I think he's currently education professor at Dordt College. Was a tech director somewhere, West Sioux or Sioux Central or something like that. So he is my follow of the week.
You tell me you should have been in iTech last week.
I know, that would have been a good place to meet up, unless you're actually friends, and then you go eat with other people.
Anyway, thanks. So coming event, I will just brag for a little bit. So in late September, the president of the University of Nebraska system, there are 4 universities in that system, Hank Bounds, he is on Twitter at Hank Bounds, did a digital listening tour. And so September 15th, 16th, somewhere around there, he posted a question like, hey, ask me something about the university. He did a little bit better than that, but I'm paraphrasing. And so I said, what are some ways that your different colleges are interacting with groups that, statewide professional organizations that their graduates would be interested in? And he responded back, and we had some dialogue back and forth. Well, then I realized that after the end of this 2-week digital listening tour, he was choosing 2 people to hang out in his skybox for the Nebraska Northwestern game. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And as I followed the hashtag, I realized there wasn't a whole lot of other people tweeting. And I had kind of sent him a couple others just based off of questions he asked. So a couple weeks ago, I get a direct message from him saying, hey, I'd like you to come down to the Northwestern game. So I mentioned earlier that my son and I were out shopping for Husker gear, so I had to dress myself up because usually it's t-shirt and jeans because we're not Southerners. We don't dress up when we go to the game. You go comfortable. And being a dad, you wear cargo shorts because when you take your 5-year-old daughter, she's got to have everything under the sun, and anything she brought, she doesn't carry. I digress. Anyway. So yeah, this weekend my wife and I are going to be hanging out with the president of the university system, along with I think a junior at UNO was the other person who gets to come along, and so we're going to go to the president's tailgate at the Leeds Center in Lincoln, and then we'll be hanging out in the president's skybox, watching the Nebraska Northwestern game on Saturday. So.
Skybox is fun. I was up there one time when Iowa State beat Nebraska with 9 turnovers, and it was amazing for me. I don't know how the Nebraska people felt, but
I'm sure
that's
it
very
was.
cool.
Yeah. So we go about once a year or so. I've sat in the same seats for 20 years or so now, and so it'll be nice to see how the other half lives for a little bit.
Right.
But I am very honored, very humbled that he thought I was intelligent enough to ask him. My wife questioned that, and I said, well, that's why you're coming, sweetheart. Because, again, key to successful life is marry up. And
Marry
I
up.
did.
That's right.
absolutely.
Very cool. That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. The other funny part is they said, hey, make sure you take pictures, tweet about it, all that other stuff. And my wife goes, well, yeah, you've got 3 times the followers that he does, so of course they want you to tweet out. I'm like, well, he's new at this, so I'm sure he'll catch up quickly.
Very cool.
Moving on to the district spotlight. Devin, you're up first. Rob, I will say if you have one, hold that thought, and
Sure.
you can come up after I get mine. Go ahead, Devin.
I'm going to share 2 elementary, but actually both 4th grade, I think. Maybe one might be a 4th, 5th grade, but Elizabeth Becker and Lacey Stogdill, who both again teach elementary school in Council Bluffs. And the thing I love is they turn their class Twitter accounts over to their kids lots of times. And they'll be tweeting out things like the learning targets for the day or reminders to folks. And I really appreciate seeing the students have an opportunity to control, for lack of a better term, that Twitter account for a while. So they share all kinds of great things from their classrooms every day, but I particularly like when they turn that over to their kids.
Well done. I am going to, I just tweeted out from Dad's and Ed, LC Math 8. I don't think I've had him on yet. Brett Weldon, who is one of our middle school math teachers, is phenomenal at technology integration. his Twitter account there, tweets out every morning what the learning targets are for the day, pictures of what the kids are working on, and does just a great job of. It's a great example of what we look at for a classroom Twitter account, especially at the secondary level. So, great job, Brett. Rob.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of plug myself, but not really. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give out. Jerry Appel is kind of my cohort at Abraham Lincoln High School here in Council Bluffs, and he is just getting his broadcasting program started. So I want to give him a shout out with this. And ALHS Journalism is their Twitter handle, and his I believe is Celtics Pride. I'll get it tweeted out for everybody. But he is doing great things with the journalism class over there at AL. We work together really closely, so I like to take some of the credit. But he does do phenomenal things over there, and it's really cool to see our district doing well in a lot of different ways.
Agreed.
Nice job. All right, folks, we have come to the end of the evening. Rob, thanks so much for your time.
No problem.
Appreciate you filling in for Brent. Definitely classed up to join a little bit. If Brent decides to stay in Vegas, at least we know that we have another person that we can count on.
Right, and just so you guys know, the new Star Wars trailer just dropped during the halftime of the football game, so I got to go pretty soon and watch that.
I did notice that was blowing up even the Dads and Ed Twitter account. We are back, and I really not a fan. I don't get it. What's so appealing about Star Wars?
Oh my goodness, do I have to?
No, we're done.
Right.
The show's over.
Right.
We are back in 2 weeks. Amanda Dykes is going to be joining us. It's a big week, November 2nd. That first week of November is a big deal in Amanda's household. She is an Alabama fan, married to an LSU grad. So, among other educational things, we will talk about the civility going on in her house leading up to that game. So, until next time, Rob, thanks enough. Devin, not too bad. Way to go. Above average.
I never did get my title down there, just so you guys know.
You
took away
my
tool.
I
took away my tool.
We jotted that down on the secret Google Doc interview questions that we've had going on. All right, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.